the last thing I wanted to show is the part about the 3 locations around the world. This is one of the locations around the world. It's the lost city, which is basically the king's city before his demise, and it looks kind of small and inkly compared to the to his maze. I suppose I could have spent more time building this than build the maze, but I suppose I don't know. I couldn't spend more time. Yeah, ran out of time in the end. This was his house, and let's go in there. And here he would sit, and we might make the movie and see what happens. He would sit here, and all his cords and whatnot. He would sit in all the other chairs, and here's where he would sleep, up here, if I can get there. This is his bed chamber, and that's where he would eat food and his special wine and whatnot. And his clothing, cheap clothing, but I don't know. He might be a cheap king. His wine cellar looks fancy, I know, but it's so old. All the wine has turned into vinegar, so I wouldn't drink this stuff. And of course, this cow isn't supposed to be here. He's supposed to be out there when we were doing the movie, but we never got around to it. We'll see. If I walk out of here, there's nothing else to see. Basically, this is the gist of it. That's the Spar Arena. It's supposed to be signs with which going to turn into smelters. 4 of them didn't because they kept getting damaged. I had to leave them in signs and just build them in when they were needed. The wood guy, the guy that just did wood. I don't know why the Kings needs a woodman, but I guess there is a wood guy in World of Warcraft and all the other games. So one other thing to note is that we actually terraformed this area. You can see that on the minimap here. This area was actually a little bit of grass and a little bit of mostly mudflat, but you can see all the dots when we were planting these bushes. They don't look like bushes right now. I should just turn off simplified plants, and you can see the bushes. They left a different ID on the soil, I suppose, on the acre clay, and they showed up funny. It's like this place has some freckles. I'll turn on simplified crops. You can see it looks a little bit more fancy here. And during the movie we would probably film it like this, or maybe even remove these bushes. Yeah, doesn't look good. I need to probably have them removed. And the whole process of terraforming this area was made by me and Ghost. We built this entire area together, and there was supposed to be a bunch of corpses laying around, which we would later on move into position. These torch posts would be lit. There would be a gap here where people would actually be able to enter. We would ram this little piece, put the village idol that is behind this house, not the personal claim idol, right here on this little gap, so people couldn't seal it and people could enter this area. We would try to make this place a little bit more ruined looking, because it is like a ruin. Probably could damage the buildings and put a bit more dents and damages around this entire area. Cut down a couple of trees and turn a bunch of this into mudflat. That was supposed to happen after the movie. Basically, it would be a couple of hours of work and waiting for that ram to dry to destroy that one piece. Never got around to it. That was the plans for this area. The other place was the Dark Swamps, which is witch's hut. She lived here. This area was also terraformed, grass terraformed. made a lot of detailed effort into placing all these trees, and might not be able to see the full extent here. These brick, oh, this is just impossible to see here. These brick walls had to protect the statues, just in case people bashed the village idol, and the crossroad would lose connection, because this is supposed to be active, this crossroad, and if someone damages the village idol, these statues would be able to provide enough authority to, even if they're offline, to make the crossroad functional. This entire shape here was meant to be anti-bear bashable. I'm unsure if it's actually working or not, but it doesn't matter. I think it just looked a lot cooler like that, so I just put in a bunch of more bricks, I guess, which would stand here and would probably have a person constantly cooking here, just to make the illusion of there would be some person, some form of presence here. This particular location is actually very close to Roger, about, let's say, 30 minutes walk from Roger. You could actually get to this location. It's on the same landmass. Compared to other locations around the world, it would be random, except this location would be close to Roger. Even though Brogerians would probably not be able to go to the maze, because it requires at least a minimum of 100 agility. The 100 agility was basically meant to, the location specifically was located in a place where you'd need 100 agility, otherwise you wouldn't be able to enter the maze, because otherwise people would just spam a bunch of alts and just clutter the maze and ruin everything if the locations to get inside of the maze were too close. The last location is the harbor. Now this is the harbor. Let me just get out and now this is the last location, the harbor. A lot of this area was terraformed. There was a lot of grass here, and people had paved and whatnot. There was housings and whatnot. I had to go and terraform a little bit. Last movie would be played here and the Lost City, and maybe a little bit of the Witch's Hut as well, and this Dark Swamps. This is the harbor basically. It looks like a harbor with a bunch of boats down here, and this is actually where the concept of Roger Bridge came. I was doing some buildings and all of a sudden came to me that you can actually go between rafts. This is where this town would basically be populated by a bunch of random people. Beehives were not placed in those two slots. That was somewhere in some boat somewhere. Pigs were tamed locally just to make sure that the butcher, which lives in this house, had some butchering to do during the filming. He lived in here. The farmers, they lived in here. Poor farmers, having very little. I was particular about placing items inside of these containers and all whatnot, but someone came through and just either damaged or destroyed or just stole a bunch of junk items. I don't know why. I think they went through with a bear or something, and they took a bunch of junk stuff and had to rebuild this place. I think twice, yeah. A bunch of stuff got stolen. Oddly, probably a very popular area. Of course, there is. You might not see it, but if you have a careful, keen eye, you might see the mine hole up behind that house. Or most people just go by without having these housings visible using the intercline, just making them invisible, hiding them like that. The issue with that would be just that most people that didn't have these housings might have not been able to see in that mine hole, but I don't think it would be too difficult to figure out that there is a crossroad here. People would look around and yeah, eventually just locate this little mine hole, and then they will go down the mine hole, and of course there is a hidden cellar here. There would be an explorer here. His parchment is not in this cupboard because I was afraid it would get stolen again. his parchment is in base, but there is supposed to be a parchment here regarding his findings. It would tie up in the movie and all that. It would be a storyline, but yeah, the storyline would basically entail him visiting the witch, and it would be a little bit of a reference there. But yeah, there is nothing special here, just a crossroad going to the maze from this location, and he would. I might have been able to film all this um, and make a nice introduction to the movie. And everything was prepared, I think. And let me just go and see if the materials for this entire movie event was stocked up into these LCs. They were prepared to make the movie just in case any backup items was needed, or anyone needed anything besides what they were wearing, or other materials that were just junk. I would, for example, take this tunic toga and just chuck it on the ground, for example, and it would look like some junk on the ground. And there would be, for example, a drunk living in the house. I would take a piece of glass and I would chuck it on the ground and make him look like a village drunk. I don't have any currently over here. And for example, let's assume this is a bottle. He would chuck this on the ground and it would look like a person with a lot of empty bottles around his bed. I know the items despawn and whatnot, but it wouldn't be in the official opening, but it would be in the movie. That is just some details. There would be other things as well in the movie. For example, oh yeah, a lot of actors from Emerald City would be probably helping out with the movie, and all that. It would be not just me and a bunch of all standing around. It would be some events and some action. One last place to visit. Probably should bring some keys if I want to go there. Yeah. Here is the final loot. Some of the final loot. This was stocked up here just in case someone rammed into the maze, prematurely looting everything. This table didn't have any gold, but it was supposed to have at the end of it. And this basket over here, basically fishing gear of every kind inside of the game. That is the loot. And the final place was this. Final place is the Sears Eye. This place was meant to be the secret and location to get in and out. Some people might not figure this out, but you can actually go past this corner over here. Just even at the slowest run speed, you should go to the slowest run speed as to make sure the character actually goes to that corner and he just walks past it. I think even animals can go through it. We never tried that with trolls, but I guess next time. This is the Seer's Eye, and of course in the Seer's Eye there would be a bunch of seer bowls and bones and seer tea leaves. One thing I didn't like about designing this particular part of the maze was that you actually have to go around this stupid spiral. Every time you want to build something, you have to go up these spirals, and then you have to go down the spirals. Makes you nauseous. Well, at last I'm on this central location. Oh yeah, I have to go all the way around the spiral as well. This is one thing I wanted to make sure that if people actually found this location, they wouldn't just be able to rush through the maze and just place their hearth fires on top and just go through here and just enter inside of the eye. The spiral would just be is a fancier way of building as well. I don't know. It looked cool, and I really wanted to have like a maze, like some parts of the maze look like a real maze, not just crossroad mazes. So this was the create. This is what I just basically created. It's annoying to go through it. You have to like go in spirals, but I guess I have to be able to make something look good. Have to make people have to walk it as well. The only issue with this spiral was that building a lot of these bricks had to be transported in, and it took a lot of time, and constructing these world sites, these four world sites, took a lot of effort and might have delayed the whole building after finalizing of the whole building, or this place would have been done. But I did really want to make sure that to have like something extra and fancy, so that's why these world sites were made, and especially this last one, which was supposed to be the most fancier version of them. Maybe it might be looking a little bit better if I don't have simple. Yeah, if I turn on simplified plans, a little bit less dense. Every single one of these have to be lit. There were hints towards that. There is there are a lot of these torch posts. All of them had to be lit to make sure that the player would be able to get inside here. Of course, there is no mechanic for turning these on and having these gates automatically open, of course, but only a smart person, I guess, would figure out that if you post this picture on the forums, I will go in here and open these gates manually. But as of right now, I think it would be. I don't think a lot of people would have figured this one part of the maze out. That's the thing, though. It's a very difficult thing to just. Yeah, the parchments might have been a strong hint, but the text was difficult to interpret. The area was completely deforested by trees and all that, made the area a little bit more fancy looking. Went around these areas and did all of the maps. This location and 3 other false locations, which can be observed in this LC. I made Q0 parchments just for the maze. It was important, but the maps were Q10. These maps are copies, just in case some people found it funny to just steal a bunch of parchments and whatnot. I don't know why they would steal a bunch of these parchments when they could just take a picture. I guess they would be greedy and didn't want someone else to find it. That would have probably been a good reason to steal a bunch of parchments, but I would be able to easily restock. This would be, for example, the full version of this area, but the full version, of course, I mean, not a lot of people don't, for example, know where these footsteps are. It would be kind of foolish to have these footsteps on this picture, so I made sure to hide important parts to make it a little bit of a challenge, I guess, to find this location. And they were made by using the in-game parchment system and map making. It was fun. I never actually tried it out. I'm happy I actually got to try that out. And that is the final part of it. The only part that I didn't actually get time to finish, besides all the things that I showed here, was basically making a bit more polishing up here and there. Every city had more containers I could fill, and a lot of more buildings could have been built in all those 4 world sites. Other than that, the maze was kind of devoid of items. It could have been filled up top to bottom with a lot of loot and juicy stuff for people to find in these rooms, and just not going from room to room as a empty maze. There would be some more of an interest to go through all the rooms. Other than that, the whole construction took roughly 6 months to build, and a lot of pauses were taken to finalize it. This room, for example, the last room, was particularly difficult. I took a lot of pauses because of the difficulty, and it led to massive delays. And I had to solo the maze because of personal issues and all that. Ghost wasn't able to help, and I didn't get much other help from other people. And the maze had to be meticulously built. I mean, a single mistake on these corner posts or buildings, a single mistake would have required a ramp to go in here and wait 24 hours, and it would delay everything, and it would just make a difficult job even worse. So before the whole construction was rushed, which is basically the images before the whole maze was done flawlessly and without a hiccup. Everything was perfectly dug, everything was perfectly built. All the connections were tested and everything worked. The only thing that was missing basically was a couple of these brick walls to go up, and there was signs of the materials in every single location, so I would just pick these up and build it, then seal the corner posts, and then finalize it, go to the next level, finalize that level. It would take me about 24 hours, but the plans were make the movie, make the make the details around those world sites that needed those extra details, finalize, go through all the maze, check everything that needs to be checked, and finish removing her fires or signs or junk that doesn't need to be there, and make sure no one actually can put down hearth fires. So if I forgot, for example, dreams and whatnot, I had to remove that, and then make very precise sure that if there was any sign, any corner post, for example, that let's assume that this corner post was open, no one would be able to build a brick wall all of a sudden and all that. These things were really important. These were the only things that needed to get done. Let's say roughly 1 or 2 days before the whole maze would be finished with regular pace. And the thing was snowballing. We were planning to make the movie today, actually. If the movie would be done, editing would be taking about 24 hours. And during that time, I would release it and finalize the maze, then release it in about less than a week. But it's a shame it never got done. A little bit of a short notice, longer than a day, would have probably been enough. But it's a shame. It's just a big shame. And going through the maze takes about, I don't know, it would have taken a week or so at least for someone to go through the maze and discover every level. So if this was done about a week back, it would be perfect. But time ran out, I suppose. Nothing I can do about it. Hopefully I'm gonna have a nice party down here with a bunch of people that really likes to see the maze firsthand and try out these crossroad connections just a few hours before the reset. And I'll have posted on the forum, so let's see. Maybe this video is coming out long after the world reset, so we will see what happens. But that's it from me, and I thank you all, and see you in the next world, I guess. And let's see if something crazy like this, I actually have the energy to build something like this in the next world. Thanks, bye.